Hello, hello. Welcome back to today's episode of Healing Souls. Today we're going to continue talking about taking control of the future. Today we're going to be talking about squashing mental mutiny. So, to start off, we'll talk a little bit about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's amazing ability to rewire itself. Most of the time, though, we've left this rewiring up to chance. And, that's not really our fault. We don't come with an owner's manual. So, most of the wiring that you have right now is a product of your childhood. It's a product of the past. But neuroplasticity is what allows you to create change in behaviors, to create change in emotional state, and ultimately to harness your future and be able to change the future. Plasticity, though, isn't something passive. What we have right now is a product of being passive. It's a product of letting the neurowiring happening all by itself. If we want change, this requires choice, constant choice, especially if what we're looking for is radical change. It requires us to think a lot. It requires us to act. It requires us to feel in different ways that is unfamiliar and maybe even contradict the way that we're accustomed to feeling. And it's going to definitely contradict our current brain coding. New choice that creates neuroplasticity actually creates discomfort, actually, maybe even a lot of discomfort. But discomfort is the sign that you are rewiring your brain, that you are weed whacking new paths in between these neurons. And discomfort is proof that what you're doing is creating change. Signs that you're rewiring your brain are this feelings of being uncomfortable, being uncertain, being unsure. When I tell somebody, like for example, when I'm coaching somebody, let's say I'm coaching somebody that maybe is in a habit of depression, if I tell them to access a happy memory, a lot of times they'll have a really hard time doing that. And even when they do, they will say, "Ooh, this feels weird. This feels fake. It doesn't feel normal." Yes, weird equals good. If it feels uncomfortable, it means that your brain is creating a new connection. And this is brain science. Your brain is actually a galaxy of 100 billion neurons. That's your army to command, your army to rewire. Every thought you think, every action you take or you don't take is a command. Enter, command. And those commands create the person that you will be tomorrow and the days after that. You've got to be the general of your army. You've got to be in control. You've got to be the leader of these 100 billion neurons. Because if you don't, then who is? It's left to chance. It's left to the past. It's left to the old patterns. And when the brain is left on its own, it typically reverts back to survival mode, as though there's a monster everywhere, nothing is safe. When the brain doesn't have a leader, when you're not the one who's determining where these neural pathways go, you have unpredictable future results, or not actually, that's not true. The results of the future will be a result of the past, and it will be out of your control. That's what I mean by the unpredictable. In other words, we often say, I hear people say things like, "I don't know why I feel like this," or "I don't know what triggered me," or "I don't know what happened." Anytime we say something like that, it's literally because we have ceased to be the commander of our own mind. When we start taking back the control, sometimes the brain does the mental mutiny. And that's what we're talking about today, is squashing this mental mutiny. What is that? What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that when we start doing these changes, when we start making new choices, which is creating these new neural pathways, sometimes we feel that discomfort, and we start hearing these voices in our head that says, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm too old. That's the mutiny that we need to squash. Do not allow your mind to drag you back into the traumas of the past, because that trauma is what will create a catastrophic future that looks just like the past. Those are the old neuro pathways. So, what is a thought? From the scientific standpoint, a thought is actually an electromagnetic signal. It's actually measurable, because this is science, not just theory. Your feelings, your emotions, they're actually chemical responses. When you think a thought, the brain releases proteins that match. And every thought that we have is a code. So are we coding our army for survival, or are we coding and programming it for our evolution to a new future and a new pathway? Are we coding helplessness, or are we coding self-empowerment? Every time we complain, we're actually recoding in powerlessness. Every time we blame the past, we blame our religion, we blame trauma, we're actually coding in victim. We have to starve the mutiny. We have to starve those thoughts that are poisoning us. Without energy, they die. It's kind of like these neural pathways are kind of like they're like a highly manicured path through a garden. And they've been maintained by the current recurring thoughts that we have. What we really want those old thoughts to do is become like overgrown by so many weeds that you can't even tell those old paths were there anymore, that you don't even know those old neural pathways were there. Other forms of mental mutiny are thoughts like, I'm not ready for change yet, or I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, no, wait. I'll do it on Monday. Everybody always wants to start everything on Monday. You'll never be ready. It will never be the perfect time to create change. It is never the perfect time to take charge and start becoming the director, the general of your own thoughts. Act like you're ready, and then you will be, because literally your neurons don't know the difference. They don't know the difference. All they're doing is responding to the commands, enter, and they respond accordingly. What we perceive as our identity can also be another form of mental mutiny. That can prevent us, our identity can prevent us from becoming what we were meant to be. Our identity is more like a costume. So sentences that start with I am, we have to be very, very careful with these sentences, because these are sometimes hijacking our future. Sentences like, I'm not disciplined. I'm not focused. I'm all over the place. I'm nervous. I'm sad. I'm bad with money. Every one of those thoughts is actually reinforcing the old you. It's reinforcing those old neural pathways. Words are powerful. Words are programming. And that's why what I do is called neuro-linguistic programming. It's because the words that you use help me unlock what your programming is. And one of the things that I'm teaching people how to do is to use their own words, but to their benefit, instead of leaving it up to chance. The first thing that people will tell me, though, is, but that's true. I'm not disciplined, or I am bad with money. It's true. Well, of course it's true. You're reinforcing it. And every time you put one of those sentences, command, enter, And the brain is responding accordingly because it doesn't know any different. It's not going to teach itself. It needs you to be the general and say, wait a second. I am burning that identity down to the ground. That is not who I want to be. It's who I was. It's what I did. But today, remember we did a video a couple days ago about the power of today, how today is what's going to create tomorrow. Today is what creates the future. The world that we have right now is a product of all those sentences that you've been telling yourself. And in order to break those neural pathways, one of the tools is to watch our speech and watch what we're telling ourselves, because our mind doesn't know any different. It trusts us. It trusts you. So when you're reinforcing those pathways with these kind of I am sentences, we got to stop that, because that's mental mutiny. Again, a lot of times what I hear people say is, but it's true. So if you say something else, I'm lying to myself. No. If you feel like I'm not disciplined, and you start telling yourself, I am disciplined and I am in control, it's going to feel weird. What is discomfort though? Discomfort is proof that you're creating a new neural pathway. That discomfort, that awkwardness, that feeling of, I am? What? You're creating that new you. Maybe it doesn't apply right this second in this moment, but remember, today and what you're telling yourself today is going to shape and create your tomorrow. So choose those words very carefully. Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Please share these videos and leave any comments on other topics that you'd like me to consider. And I'll be back tomorrow. All right, talk to you soon.